Nice to see you all, as usual. Another weekly session of Practical Awakening with Di and Anjali. How to let go of I. Hello, Anjali.
Hi, Di. Just a quick reminder again for all of our new viewers. It really helps us if you like this video to give us a thumbs up. It gets the video out to a lot more people who would be willing to watch it. Also, if you are interested in making any donations, the donation link is down below. And we have a short intro here from Di and I both for how to watch these live streams. Go ahead, Di.
Thank you. Yes, there are words, but there is a space where there are no words. And we focus on that during these live streams. We're going to do shortly this 5-minute version when we turn inwards with the breath and the mantra. Go a little bit deeper in. Stay a little bit more with the space, with peace and silence. And even when we come back after these 5 minutes, we still linger in the space a little bit. Angie, what's your take on the space?
I've noticed I can watch these in two different ways. I can just listen to the words, and meanwhile, my head keeps going, parsing out definitions, trying to understand what Di's saying. Do I get that? How many times do I do that? It just keeps going. But that's all up here, and it just keeps going. But there's another way to watch, which is so much deeper, is to sit in the space. Just sit there and breathe. You're still listening. There's still words coming and swirling around. But underneath all those words, there's such richness. And it doesn't matter if you understand fully what the words are saying. You're in the space. And we're sitting in the space together. All of us. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. And we're sharing that space. I know it's hard for the mind to understand that. But that's the space. If you can sit there with us today and every day, that's the best.
Yeah. You see, when someone awakens or starts the process of awakening or enlightenment, the form becomes a channel for the space, for the stream of this pure existence that is unprocessed. And it's an open channel, and you can connect with that space, with the space that is inside you, because each one of us has this space. But it makes it easier for you to connect with this space inside you when there is an open channel. Form of the I is in a way an open channel. And the form of Anjali, when we're in the space together, is becoming an open channel too. And you join these channels, this one channel, with yours, with your space. So we're going to take a few steps towards that now. We're going to close the eyes or keep them open. Find the breath. The mantra. And feel the space. opening in the chest area. And just sinking into it, just deepening it. Through the heart, and just staying there, extending, spreading. All is letting go. All is opening. Through the heart, vibrating, spreading. Through the heart. We all is one, and we all is space, and nothing else. And we're going to make an effort now to talk a bit about the letting go of I and all related topics. But we are not leaving the space. Part will stay there and linger there, be anchored there in peace and bliss. We opened this topic last week, letting go of I, thought of I. That is the center of all the thoughts that we have. I this, I that, this is mine, this is about me, this is, I feel this, I feel that, I think this. And we somehow came to the conclusion that I is a mental concept. made up of many, many little fragments of thoughts, words, and that it is possible, as so-called enlightened people show throughout the history of mankind, it is possible to live without I. And it's actually much easier. That is the funniest part of it. And it's so much easier.
Could we
Anjali,
say, yeah, could we say, I'm just sitting here wondering for the first time, I guess. So I as a reference point?
because of
So
this
with
I.
with the disposal of the eye or the seeing through the eye or whatever word we're going to use to describe that, would there be any thought at all?
Yes, yes. You see, it is not the I that is a thinker. The thoughts on the physical level in this sort of world we call it, okay? The thoughts are coming and going all the time. That's how it is. Mental concepts. This world is made of mental concepts. Creation is in mental concepts. So
Mm,
mental concepts, thoughts are coming and going all the time, all the time. But there is no engagement. They come and go momentarily. They come and go. They come and go. They come and go so quickly, Angie, that there is not enough time to react to them. You notice them. You notice them. You're not, you're not away somewhere else. You notice them, but you do not engage with them. You do not react to them. It's okay. It's nothing. They do not affect you in any way. You can notice them like you notice that it's bright or dull or that there is a tree or that there is a window, there is a fort, like that.
mm.
So it's just a constant flow, fluid, like water running by, water running by, water running by. And it's running by. It's no problem with that.
Mm.
But when you jump into that water and go with the stream, then of course that's a different thing.
So what about a name for the eye? Does that matter? We had that question before and we didn't get to it last week. Like yeah.
It can matter. It can matter. If we put it this way, if the whole process of enlightenment awakening is actually letting go of I. That's where it all
Mm.
starts. I mean, it's a basis of it. You cannot possibly get there without letting go of I. What makes it possibly more difficult to let go of I? You see, this is where the question of the name can come in. Most of the names are completely generic, like, there are so many people named in a certain way with a certain name, and they don't mean anything. The name is just something that distinguishes you from some other people in the room. And if there are a
Mm.
few people with the same name in the room, then you have to be like Susan 1, Susan 2, Susan 3, or whatever, or
Mm.
Diana A, Diana B. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's they have no meaning. Like they're completely generic. Names, more or less, in general, have absolutely no meaning. And they're just a generic thing, just something that's practical use. But there are cases where the names are number one, either given to the child with a certain intention, and it's a certain name that sort of has a content, like naming someone in a certain way, like Hercules or something, because you want this
Mhm.
child to be strong and powerful and all this, because you yourself were all your life struggling and you were small and you were weak and you were decent. But this
Mm.
child is going to be different. This child is going to, you know, conquer it all, and so on and so on. So this name and the attachment of this child with the upbringing the way it is with this name would be much, much tighter. And it would be in a way more difficult to this person to let go because it's so much in it, it's so much content in it, it's so much pull in it, charge. And of
Is
course,
it the
also, yes,
Yeah. I was just wondering, is it the name itself, or is it what's been like, I don't know what the word is. It's what's been like parents reinforce that idea, like Hercules, if we're going to stick with that example. Parents would reinforce, oh,
it's
you're
the
so strong,
content.
Hercules, and this and that. And
It's the content. You know, the name Angie
oh,
is just let us put together.
right.
We
That's
all
right.
need to understand that all the words, all the names are nothing but letters put together. They're completely empty, but it's the content. It's the content that gives it a charge.
Mm,
So parents can give a name with the content and then enforce this content while
mm,
upbringing this child through the childhood and stuff like that. And either way, either the child buys into it completely, which they usually do, children, of course, or they later on rebel against it, but the pull, the charge is still there. And it's more difficult to let go.
mm,
If you have just a generic name that's completely empty, that never has any content, like, I mean, there are, most of us have those generic names that mean nothing at all. It just means that this is something different than that one with a different name. You know what I mean? So how we
right.
distinguish people from each other. And of course, it's becoming, I think it's happening more often, probably in the last, I don't know, few generations or generation or two, that people intentionally change their name, wanting to change who they are by changing the name. Or there is an intent anyway. There is an intent. There is usually a name that is connected with a certain content that a person is not happy with. So they're not happy with
Mm,
this content. They want a different content. And the easiest way, in a way, to do it is just to change the name. So thinking, okay, I'm going to move. It's easy if you also move into different environment at the same time with
mm,
the change of the name. So you can completely, you know, start something new. People call this a fresh start, a fresh start.
mm,
It's in a way, it's, this new name. And again, I'm saying the word is not important. The letters are not important. The content is important. This new name is very, very highly charged. And this person would have to now really cling on to this new name because they want to obviously enforce this person or this content that is connected with this new name, because this was the idea behind the change of the name, usually anyway. So that can become also more difficult to let go because it's got more pull, it's more charge, it's more is at stake, more is at stake than in just a completely, generic name that's got nothing in it, absolutely nothing at all.
but okay, we're talking about me, right? So we'll cut to the
No, no,
chase here.
Angie,
No, no,
no,
but
Angie,
really,
no. You can.
but
I just want to. I want to say this. It can be your case, but I know people who did it. I personally actually knew people who did it.
right.
You are there are quite a few cases. Not just I know this
Oh,
is your
there's
case, but
lots
there are
of
quite a few
people.
cases out of yeah, that
Right,
actually. But you are in the best position to actually talk about it.
right, right. And so I was going to say, my birth name was Susan. Um, white American. What better name? So that then, after high school and college, it felt like my life was just kind of like I wanted to start over again. So I had known my teacher and I asked him for another name and he gave me Anjali. And that actually did. I moved to a different space for grad school, different environment, whole different set of friends. And I can say that it was very surreal having that switch from one name to the other. That is where I felt most open because there was so much confusion about who I was and which name am I? You get to see fully the what's loaded in the first name and what you're like aspiring to. You're just really shifting your dominoes around, so to speak, and like shifting them into a new name with all the same. For me, it was all the same kind of little hooks and things, but they were different hooks than Susan had. So in some ways, I did feel like a different person. Um, the name for me now does not feel as charged, I would say. If I just sit with it, I don't feel like the meaning itself is charged. I never really understood why he gave me that name. Um, but the charge for me is that he gave it to me. So that's still what needs to be kind of taken apart for me still. Um, but Susan, also, I'm aware there's probably things to sit with that name too. I mean, why do we move away from a name? Everything was like attached to that name growing up, and a lot of energy swirling around that name. It feels distant right now. Like it doesn't, if someone were to shout out Susan, I would not turn my head. It's been so long now. But it's interesting. That shift for me was just the most interesting thing to witness because it took me several years actually to fully like move into Anjali, like being okay with that resonance of that name. And Susan seemed surreal and weird and distant at that time. But now, in some ways, they both seem weird, because I have a legal name of Susan still. So my employers have that, and they're like, well, the paychecks have to come to my legal name. And yet there's Anjali that I respond to in auditory fashion. So it's an interesting, still like living in two lanes in a weird kind of way.
Yeah. The space you are coming into is though that both of them are without resonance or reasonably
Right.
empty sooner or later. So if you were to change your name again, which would be of absolutely no significance at all, it would be of absolutely no significance at all.
Right.
You see what I mean? It's of no significance. The name is of absolutely no significance. But it was, and it can be, for obvious reasons. If you want a name to represent something in a certain way, like you probably wanted a name to represent a certain person with a certain qualities, with a certain way of life, with a certain presence in the world.
I just wanted a do-over. I really did. I did not enjoy school all the way through, that point and like who I had become. And, you know, it just was like, I really want I mean, my teacher lit my fire for that. The thirst for like, what are we calling it? Truth, for the space, for silence. He lit that flame. And that's where the direction I wanted to go in because I was lit. And I felt like that the name would move me in that direction. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it did refocus me.
Yeah. But now you have to let it go, the same as
Mm.
the Susan died long, long
Hmm.
time ago.
And you let the teacher go too.
Yeah, in a way of not clinging, you know,
Mm.
not clinging to things, not clinging to concepts. You said the teacher was the channel. The teacher was just the form. There was the channel. And you
But
connected
that's
with this
within.
channel, with that, correct.
Yeah.
You connected with that channel, with that stream long, long, many, many, many years ago. But then you were attaching more to the form than, you didn't realize that the real value was in connecting to the channel, not in attaching to the form.
Mm.
And with time, it deepens. There could be, I mean, honestly, even people in this world who would attach to the form of the for whatever reason and not really understand that the value of this form is really not in the form at all. It is in the channel, in opening the space.
Can it not be a useful, like, stepping stone, honestly? That initial
Absolutely.
attachment? I mean, you can get rid of it towards after you're, I don't
Absolutely.
know, solid in your, internal practice, but
Spot on, Angie. Spot on. It's a stepping stone towards where you want to go. Spot on. Because even the form, in a way, conveys the content in a way.
mm,
But the danger is to just stay with the form instead of going deeper into the content and then really, because when you connect with the content, you're really connecting with the space inside you, not inside this whatever form it is, but in that form, there is the space there, and you're just opening to that space through that channel. It makes it easier for you.
right.
But you're right, yeah, it's a helping, it's a process. It starts with certain attraction to the form, because in a way it sort of signifies a certain content. It's not clear from the start what that content is, but it's something maybe a little bit
Mm,
different than the usual form. And then you get into it deep, and then you are connecting more and more to the channel, to the space. And with that, you're actually letting go. Connecting with the space is actually a process of letting go. It's
mm.
happening like simultaneously. But
I
it's a
find
good
I
point, yeah.
still use your form for me, for support, kind of crutches. We do a live stream, and then halfway through to the next one, I watch a video or something to kind of find that space again. Not that I'm not finding it on my own, but there's just some, I don't know how to put it in words. There's just some space that I can get to much quicker when I'm watching your form
Correct.
or with your form.
Yes, yes, because it's an open channel of the stream. Like, this form is already in the stream, so it's an open channel. The space is a bit more open, a bit deeper, a bit more pronounced in your space when you're doing it on your own. But when you're connecting with a channel like this, the same as when you connected with your teacher, but now even more because you're more in the process of it. But you connect with that channel, you actually think.
I think we've momentarily lost you, Di. Your video is out. Your video's frozen on our side. I don't know if I'm coming through. She'll come back because I've got a question for her. There she is.
Yes, please.
The question was interesting because it might pertain to our viewers too. We had talked about when I do these live streams with you. I feel like I'm just here with you. I feel great when I'm done. I mean, there's a space that must be opening that just feels nice to sit with you for an hour and talk to you. And so viewers watching this also maybe don't have to watch this in a full chunk if they don't have time, but you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, just watch it in parts. When you can, or when you're inclined to watch it, you watch a part, and just with focus on the space, and then watch another part and another part. I mean, we usually put an hour together, which is a lot to watch in one go, unless you're pulled in and you have time and you're pulled into the space and you can watch in one go. But it's helpful also if you watch it in chunks, when you can, with the focus on the space. As Anjali said at the start, just focus on the space. And the words come in, and the words are like seeds, and these seeds, when the space is open, these seeds are being planted inside your space, inside the space. And later on with time, when in days or months or whatever, like these seeds are starting to grow. So you just open yourself up, you are in the space, you join this space, and you open yourself up, and all the words, you do not try to understand them. You do not try to juggle them around as you hear them. Just let them be seeds. Let them be seeds. Just planting your space, planting the seeds. Your garden, invisible garden, that's got no plants, but it's all there, just like that.
I
And
actually
you
find
know,
my space deepens after I sit with you for like a longer stretch.
yes, because when you connect with this, with the channel that this form of dye is opening, it's deeper than your usual space, and you stay there for longer. You're deepening your space, your own space. You see, Angie, you cannot connect with this space without your space. You know what I mean? There are people who
Right.
have not opened the space at all, and they would sit with me and they would just think, "What a boring old hag! I mean, what's she talking about?" And it's just crap. But I just want to make a point here that not everyone, you have to have an opening already yourself. That's why we also do this 5 minute thing and all that. You have to have an opening, to connect with it. And then when you have this opening, your space deepens. Because this form dies is really a channel. Is already the stream, is already part of the stream. Oh, look, I've had lots of comments. I told you once, like all this, crazy, um, what was it? Bonkers completely, old bat, like mad
Oh,
old bat, and
comments?
all sorts of things, all sorts of things, which is really funny, and I welcome them all. They're really nice, but they do miss the point.
Mm.
We have to have the last laugh, Angie, isn't it? I mean, it's not like that. I welcome them all, but you're really missing. You're missing something. You're missing something. If that's your reaction, you're missing something. But anyway, in connection with this I just also last time I wanted to get into this, but then I obviously got into something else. You see, this is this I that we build up, and it's a mental construct. But then it's this thing I am that's also a way we're brought up, which is I am this body, isn't it? I'm this body.
Mm.
I'm this body. And this body might do all sorts of things. Might think, might, experience, feel, do things. This body. And this is I am this, isn't it? How would you so what's your I am what, Angie? What are you? I am what?
So you're saying, because I am is also the tradition of like the Veda Vedanta people, I am, it's like a mantra. But I think you're meaning I am like, filled up with all these adjectives. You're saying I am competent, I am efficient, I mean, what constitutes the I,
No,
you're saying?
no. Yeah. I'm just saying, what is, you see, this is this identification, as we call it, that we are brought up in. I am this body, isn't it? Aren't you brought
Mm,
up to believe that you are this body?
for sure.
Are you
Yeah.
somewhere else than this in this body?
You're asking me if I am? I know that I feel like I don't have a body when I practice, but I know my identity is tied up in this body.
And this is how we all, most, not all of us. Of course, there are people who are maybe brought up by enlightened people, or, and so on, who are brought up differently, or indigenous people. But, most of us in this so called civilized world are brought up to identify with the body, isn't it? So I am
Mm,
this body. I'm this body who does, or which does, whatever it does. You see, we're brought up with this misconception already. When we are born, we are brought up already, being educated into this misconception. I am this body. And then we have all these other misconceptions that this body thinks.
mm,
But when you get into the stream and start the process of enlightenment, it will become completely obvious that it is not the body that does anything. It is not the body that thinks. The thoughts are coming by. The thoughts are coming by constantly, momentarily. It's a fluid, it's a flow. It is not the body that thinks. We all share in the same thoughts, Angie. I mean, you and me and everyone else. If we were to write down, which is impossible, all the thoughts that we have in one day, they're
mm.
the same. They are the same. And they repeat day after day after day after day after day. And the more we share in these medias, social media, other media, news, and everything else, the more our thoughts are just the same. And we all
Mm,
attaching to these thoughts that are just completely shallow, completely repetitive, completely, all of us. But we still believe, Angie, we still believe that we are these thinkers, that we are these,
we do.
honestly, this huge, wow, we create our thoughts. It's a misconception, Angie. It is a misconception. And it's
Oh, Di's gone. She popped out. So,
you know,
oh, you're
uh,
back. You're
am I
back.
back, Ange? Am
Hmm.
I back? I'm so sorry. It's a major fallout in the country, so it's not just me, although my internet is usually of
Oh, you
bad
should
quality.
explain. No one knows.
There is a major company, communication company, internet and phone company, that sort of had a blackout, complete blackout. So half of the country was left without internet, without phone, and so on and so on. I'm actually not with that company, but other companies are affected too, because obviously some of the infrastructure is sort of joint and so on and so on. So that's why it happens. And it's even worse than usual. Apologies.
Mm.
So I want to talk about, I talked about this thinking thing, a misconception. I'm the thinker. Another misconception. I am the doer. Okay.
Mm.
Now think about one day and all the actions that the body does. Which of these actions, Angie, is not repetitive, that was not done squillions of times before in a lifetime, just in this life cycle? Not to talk about a previous life cycles as a human being. Not many, is it? Can you think of any?
No.
No, it's automatic. It's automatic. Body does things automatically. And yet, here again, we have this misconception. I am a doer. I'm so proud of everything that I do. And of course, I'm a thinker and I'm so proud of all my thoughts. You see, we are caught in this maze of misconceptions, and no wonder that there is no place to move, like we just get squeezed in. It's
So
very hard to liberate
let's
from
let's
all
take a
that.
practical example again. Um, I get up in the morning. I Is it me that decides? I feel like it's me that decides what I'm going to do today.
Of course, the thoughts are coming, Angie. The thoughts are coming, and you're attached to certain thoughts as usual. You're always attached to, pretty much the same thoughts,
Mm.
and so you go. But you're thinking, of course, I decide and all that. I mean, it's just how it is. It's our experience as a human being. We think, we do, we decide, that's how it is, Angie. All these misconceptions. Once you're enlightened, you don't have these misconceptions anymore. I do not have these misconceptions. I do not think that I'm a thinker. I do not think that I'm a doer. I just go with the stream, whatever
So,
comes.
so did that happen prior to awakening, or is that
Oh
something that only
no,
happens
oh no,
after?
that happens after. Afterwards, because the I is not existent anymore, there is no reference
Mm.
point. Everything else becomes completely obvious. It's just laid out plainly how it is. The thoughts are coming and going. There is no thinker. Body does most of the things automatically. There is no doer, and it goes. It all becomes completely plain after enlightenment. Before you can't really get it with the brain or so-called brain, so-called attaching to the so-called to the thoughts. Brain, Angie. I wanted to say this once before. When when I was growing up, we used to eat brain, pig's brain or something like that.
Ew.
For breakfast, we used to eat a liver, fried liver with the onion and blah blah. And then we used to eat occasionally a fried brain with the eggs and stuff like that. It was quite nice. Now it's been a while since I've eaten meat. Obviously, I haven't eaten meat for the last few. Which was just the way it went. But what I wanted to say to you, Angie, misconceptions. This misconception that this brain that we can eat, that is just tissue and whatever it is, that can manufacture the thoughts and all that is just completely ridiculous. But we are brought up in it. We are brought up in it. You know what I mean? We are. We completely swallow it. Everything. Everything. And it's not that anyone is deceiving us. These people who are teaching us, they have swallowed it themselves.
Mm.
There is no deceit here. Everyone is completely swallowed it and completely believes that this is like that. And the experiences are like that, Angie, they are. Before you become enlightened, that's how you experience everything. You experience so-called free will, you experience a thinker, you experience a doer, you experience a decision maker. That's it. That's our human experience before we become enlightened. It's just, you know, a misconception, a misunderstanding of how this experience comes about.
So that's not something then that the seeker on a practical level needs to like scrape away or have a good hard look at or anything or try to correct. That corrects itself is what I hear you saying at the point of awakening. It's again
It
like just
does.
watching the
Absolutely.
thoughts and paying attention to the breath and the
It
mantra,
does.
and it's that simple. I mean,
When you listen to this, what I'm saying now, which you cannot possibly comprehend with attachment to the forces, it is not possible, Angie. These things are not possible to
mm,
comprehend up here. Absolutely not. But when you listen to all these things and you open up the space and you just allow all these seeds to come in, allow all these seeds to come in without processing them mentally, just allow the seeds to drop in. That's all. And you need to practice detachment from the thoughts. That is, I cannot stress, and I don't want to stress again because I've stressed it so many times, how important that is.
mm.
Ability, skill to detach from the thoughts. It's a huge, huge, huge. And so you go. As I said once in one video, and I said to you too, like, you open up when you listen to things. Like I listened to hours and hours daily and hours when I was in that quick sort of searching mode. And all these things were sort of coming in and coming in, and I did not really understand anything, to be absolutely honest. And I know now that I couldn't have understood it anyway. But, I was
Mm.
open to it. It was all coming in and felt good and all day. And one day, Angie, one day, it just clicked. I just got it. One of the things that was just coming in and I never understood it, I just absolutely got it. Absolutely got it.
That's from a knowing space, or you're saying so these words are coming in and that's
Not even this, but I just completely got it. And that was even before I got enlightened. So it was this, I think it's a Zen Buddhism where they say all is mind, there is nothing but the mind.
mm,
Which just says really that there is no physical aspect to this so-called universe, which is what already the quantum physics or whatever is already sort of
right.
even proven, that which is impossible to prove, that there is no physical aspect to this universe. And
Mm,
there is also no free will. Even that I read the other day somewhere online, that some physicists has sort of found the proof that there is no free will.
mm,
That is not important. I just want to say that it's not so far-fetched as one would think. And I always had a problem with the dreams, with the explanation of the dreams, always from a very early age. You know why, Angie? Because I never dreamt anything that was connected to my everyday life. My dreams were never in any way related to my everyday life. I never
mm,
dreamt of the environment that I knew. I never dreamt of the people that I knew. Sometimes I dreamt of him, was dreaming, or whichever, my dream
dreamt.
dreamt,
Dreamt,
dream
yeah, I
dreamed,
guess. Dreamed,
dreamed,
dreamed.
dreamt. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. So I was never dreaming of anything related to my everyday life. So this
Mm,
explanation of dreams, how everything from, to me, it was complete bollocks.
mm,
My dreams were the proof from, since I can remember my dreams, that it's completely not like that at all. And sometimes I would have dreamt environments that were completely shifted. They were not like this environment. The angles were different. The colors were different. The people were not people. You know what I mean? Everything was different. So I can tell you, I
mm,
always knew. I just knew because of my dreams. This is bollocks, this explanation of dreams. You see, when we dream, Angie, the body's lying in a bed.
mm.
But at the same time, the body's doing something, the body's experiencing physical reality. The experience is real, completely real. And then we go back to waking up and we say, oh, it wasn't real, like I was just dreaming. But the experience was real. The same is real when we are sort of awake. The experience is real. There is no difference. And I thought,
Mm.
there has to be something there. When you dream, you experience a physical reality. And when you awake, you experience the physical reality. So the way it happens has to be the same. But we just explain it away with these misconceptions. It's something completely different. Anyway, we build misconception upon misconception upon misconception. And all these
Does that
misconceptions drop
yeah.
off.
Does the eye drop at night when we're in sleep?
No, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. I mean, when you dream, Angie, there is still I, isn't it? I mean, you are identified with a certain person who does certain things in a dream, which is usually you, whichever shape or form you take. You could be a usual Anjali, you could be someone else, you could be, in a different form. But it's I. It's I. I is doing things, I is experiencing things, I is thinking, I is feeling, I is, you know, it's I.
There's a reference point for me. I don't dream much at all. At least I don't remember the dreams, but I have a reference point, but I don't usually have a body that accompanies that reference point. There's just a sense of like
Yeah.
witnessing the space, the
Yes,
unfolding of
you're,
whatever's in
you're
front of me.
progressing. You're progressing. You're quite there. You're quite close, Angie. You're quite close. They say that that people forget most of their dreams, but
Mm.
you are a witness, so you're progressing. You're seeing things that are happening without an eye.
It feels like there's still a reference point. It doesn't feel like I'm everywhere, or like there's still someone looking at something that's whatever the event is or whatever's happening. But honestly, my dreams are like for a year or something that I remember. I mean, these are so infrequent.
Don't bother with it at all. I wouldn't really bother with the dreams at all. Sometimes in a dream there is something. Rarely, sometimes there is actually a glimpse of a future event, but I wouldn't bother with that either, because what happens, what will happen anyway. So I would really, really not bother with it. I
I
just
guess
use
there
the
was,
dreams here as,
yeah,
please, please.
there was one dream I just remember that was about me. And I remember like my head was like ossified and it had these old rusty screws in it and someone was taking them out. And I was so panicked, like, oh my God, my brains are going to fall out. Everything's going to fall apart. That was about
Yeah.
maybe a year ago. It was total panic.
Because you see, Anjali, a year ago, and Anjali's brain, I always say that there is this real attachment, to this piece of tissue and that we ate for breakfast.
No. Oh God, that's great.
No, I just,
Yeah, I've been a vegetarian since I'm 5, so I can't say I've ever
no,
eaten
but
brain.
you still kept this thing, Anjali's brain. You're still keeping it. I'm keeping an eye on it. You're still keeping this Anjali's brain thing.
That's because we get a good laugh out of it.
I find it hilarious. I find it
For
hilarious.
everyone that
But
doesn't know,
look,
that's my
everything, but
email address is Anjali's brain.
it's. I was just talking really about dreams because I just wanted to point out that the experience of physical reality is the same in the dreams as it is like we physically experience something, reality, so-called reality, and yet the body's in a bed supposedly at a time not doing anything while it's doing something in a physical reality. It's all mind. I mean, it's all mental processing. It's all mental processing, nothing but mental processing. This creation is mental processing. How they say in the beginning there was the wording, and exactly like that.
Mm,
It's a mental processing. Creation is a mental, it's the words. It's the mental concepts. That is the creation. And we experience it because we focus on it, because we attach to it. We attach these thoughts, we make them feel physical. And we experience it all as a physical reality. And it can be lovely. It can be lovely. But it's good to just understand how it all comes about, how this creation, which actually is creation, came about. And it's completely not personal. It's completely not personal. It's completely like just some sort of simultaneous automatic process. It's not personal. How people used to think God is this moral, personal sort of entity that
mm,
that you know makes decisions about things, about lives, about it's completely not like that. Even if you call this existence God, I don't mind the names. The names are not important, but just it's good to understand that it's really not personal and it's really not moral in any human sense at all. It's nothing to do with this so-called human morality. How they say, oh, why are good people punished? Why are good people? Why this happens to good
mm.
people? And Just drop it, all that. It's just not useful,
So do you experience yourself as an I at any point anymore?
Not really. Not really. Sometimes I see a thought that's deeply I centered come by, and
Mm,
I laugh, like it goes by so quickly that it just has no effect, it's just, you
mm,
can laugh at all these things, it's just lovely. It is lovely. What is not lovely, that there is so much suffering, so many people in this
mm,
world that we experience, because Angie, the experiences are real. I mean, we do experience this. We are not making it up. We do experience pain. We do experience lacking. We do experience anxiety. We do experience, people are in war. You see what's going on around the world. People experience homelessness, bombarding, death all around. These are all
right.
experiences that we are real. And there's so much suffering, and more and more and more and more suffering in this world for many reasons. You can't really laugh at that, but otherwise, like, you can have a little giggle at things. But not at that. That hurts me. Not at that. That not hurts
Mm,
me, but it's too much suffering. But you see, I used to say this in my videos at the start. Even if people do not have a goal to become enlightened, or are not serious about this, even just to be able to experience some peace from
mm,
thoughts, be able to have the skill to control the thoughts completely in a way that you can just make them disappear when they bother you. This is so important in life, because we're just bombarded by thoughts. We are caught up in all these thoughts. So even from that point, to learn the skill of detachment is just so essential for experience of life, to have some peace inside, to rest away from all this non-stop, non-stop, non-stop. And even when you sleep, it's going on. You're lucky when you're not dreaming. I mean, we don't remember what you dreamed. At least, you feel a little bit rested, or, you know what I mean?
mm. I can
So
just
this
hear
skill of
like
detachment is so
I
important to learn, even if you never want to, or, don't care about enlightenment.
what about those people that say if you're detached, you don't face reality and, you know, people are suffering and you can't just hide your head in a hole and detach from that. Go live in a monastery, detach from that.
Look, Angie, I use the word detachment to learn the skill. What I mean by
Mm,
this is not attach. Not attach and detach maybe does not have the same sound to it. When you enter the process of enlightenment, the thoughts are coming and going, and you notice all the thoughts, but you do not engage, you do not attach. So I am
mm,
not disengaged from the world. I can see all the thoughts, I can see all the mental concepts, but I do not attach to them. I am not affected by it.
mm,
And I can see that everything is mental processing. And I can also see all the suffering. So I'm by no means, I'm not in a monastery or wherever, in some, spiritual order somewhere, put away from reality. I'm in life. I do not watch TV, radio, la 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 la. But what I do is I go online on the phone, and I look through the world news from different agencies, like 20 minutes a day, every day. So I know exactly what is going on around the world. I'm not interested just in Australia. I'm interested in the whole world, what is going on. So I'm
mm.
absolutely by no means not aware of this world. I am in this world. I mean,
Yeah.
And I also do practical steps to try and make the experience of this world better. I actually do these videos. I actually, Anjali and me, we actually do spend this time trying to demonstrate something. I also actually am part of this op shop with the church where we sort of sell secondhand goods and furniture and all that to help people who can't afford to buy stuff new and so on and so on and so on a practical level. What I want to say is, you see, I practice.
Uh-oh. We lost your video. Oh, no video. Hold that thought. Well, we have a comment here that, oh, Di will be back. I'll let her finish. There, you're back.
Has
Yep,
it come
it's
back?
back.
Yeah. So we should just finish, Angie, isn't it? But I was just talking about my practical involvement in the world on many different levels. I just really want to stress this out. You know, I'm not some way separate or disengaged or detached from this world. Far from it. Far from it. I put in a lot of effort into videos, into weekly sessions, the same as Anjali, Angie, the same as you. And in other on other practical things, as I say, with this op shop and trying to make things accessible to people who struggle and this, and on many different practical levels, practical.
Right.
So please, I mean, I really want to make this understood. And the goal of all this is to help people become enlightened so that they can help other people, you know, to suffer less, to experience less stress, less this, less that, to learn to how to find the peace, to, you know, and whatnot. Because it's just humanly possible for all of us. You know, of course, not all of us are on this journey, but those who are on this channel watching this, they are. You are on this
Right.
journey. So just get on with it.
We've got one comment here, no question. Awaken Abundance says, for me, when the two of you are focused in that space or focusing in that space, it makes it much easier for me to open and go deeper. Many thanks. A little heart.
Thank you. Very appreciated.
So I've got no more words.
No, no, no. I'm just enjoying the space now. I've just sort of settled into it. And as we just had this lovely comment, and really, this is the main thing. As we stress out at the start, this is the main thing. Stay open as much as you can. And the seeds are coming.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next week, see you there.
Yes.
Thank you, Anjali.